Today, I'm very happy to speak with my good friend, Junior Tauvaa. Junior is the Chief Sales and Marketing Officer of Visit Anaheim. Amazing career, great stories, and we will also learn about sales, marketing, what this new generation is looking at, influencers, and the difference between Samoa and Somalia. Enjoy my conversation with Junior. Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Business of Meeting podcast. I am delighted today to speak with an old friend. We met thanks to MPI, but he has an amazing journey. He's a rock star in our industry, and not only for those watching on YouTube with the two guitars in his back. He is the Chief Sales and Marketing Officer of Visit Anaheim. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Junior Tauvaa. How are you?
Hey, good. How are you doing, buddy?
Very well. Glad we can finally talk together.
Yeah, I was, always a listener, never, a candidate, or never on the podcast. So I'm thrilled to be asked, and I'm thrilled to chat with you.
Oh, thank you. Oh, you're the one listening. I was told somebody was listening. Awesome. Junior, we met, as I said, thanks to MPI. Your reputation is amazing. You're an amazing individual, an amazing professional. But at the end of the day, people know just you in the face. They don't know the story behind the man. So what is Junior's story and how did you get into our industry?
Yeah, so thanks, Eric. So I think, for me, I'm of that generation that really didn't know about our industry, right? Like so many of us that, the cliche is that we sort of stumbled or fell into the industry. And that's really my story, right? I started my career in the consulting world, the business consulting world for Arthur Andersen Consulting. And one of my clients was Hilton Hotels. And then I got introduced to this industry when I was hired by a gentleman named Bob Moore, who was with Hilton Hotels when he took the job with the LA CVB at the time, LA Convention and Visitors Bureau, now known as the LA Tourism Bureau, right? So that was really my introduction into the industry. In fact, when I got into the industry, I thought the CVB, or the Bureau is what they usually refer to, was some government agency, the FBI, right? And so, so when I got into the LATCB, or the Convention Bureau, really just, real understanding the business, right? I started there, again, coming from the business consulting world, really trying to understand what CVBs are all about. How do they make money? Who are their clients? Who are their customers, right? How do they monetize the business? So I spent 11 years with the LA Bureau. Every department, from sales to marketing to research, really, again, just understanding what the organization and the value proposition and where they fall into the industry. And so spent 11 years there, or almost 11 years there, before I moved over and met you at MPI, right? And at MPI, spent about 7 years at MPI, originally growing our chapter and membership side. And, the growth for us was really into the European market, and then into the Asia Pacific, and down to the Latin America market, right? Because we were pretty established in the Canadian market and obviously the US market, right? And so, that expansion into the Asia Pacific, the EMEA, was an eye-opener for me on how big this industry was, right? So with the LA Visitors Bureau, most of the business was domestic. And so moving over to MPI, and that was the huge upside of going to MPI, is I got to understand the business from a very global perspective, right? And so, being the chairman of the board with MPI, the priority for the organization to really have a global footprint and have a global presence and have a global voice. And so that gave me a lot of background there. And so, again, started on the membership and chapter side of the business to grow that side, and then eventually moved over to the sales side and the sales and the foundation side of MPI before leaving that organization, and obviously making some great connections, not just here domestically, but internationally. And then coming back, I consider going to visit Anaheim as sort of coming home, right? So coming back to California to head up Visit Anaheim sales side of their business, and then eventually took on the marketing side and also the sports commission side of Visit Anaheim. So it's been I've just spent like 2 or 3 minutes summarizing a career that spanned, almost 25 years, right? Or a work history that spans 25 years, and obviously thousands of contacts, thousands of friends and connections in that 2 or 3 minutes there.
Excellent. Thank you. And you just illustrate the point, as Californian say, which says, I'll be back. And there you go. You're back in Anaheim.
Or you can leave, but you never, or you can leave, but you always come back, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. From the moment that you started and joined now Visit Anaheim, it's fascinating to me that in those 2-3 minutes, as you said, you just made the point for anybody's listening about the episode now and thinking, what can I do in this industry? What is the future? You can do so many different jobs. You have so many different functions, and also coming from different background, obviously with your business consulting, a different approach. But it's fascinating how actually few people know about the scope of our industry, right?
Yeah, absolutely. As you and I talked before the podcast started, right? Both of us have kids that are getting into the college years, right? And I was talking to my daughter because she has some interest in what we do, right? But you're right. There's so many facets of the industry, from obviously the low hanging fruit, or the one that you always sort of think about is the hotel management side. But there's sales, there's marketing, there's finance, there's communication, there's social, there's technology, all different professions within our industry. And so, for me coming into the industry, I was trying to figure out where I fit in, and to what most people, what motivates me to get up every morning, right? And so, as I talked about, when I was in LA, I was in research, I got into marketing, and part of what I was trying to do is figure out like what this industry is all about and what this business is all about, but also where do I fit in, right? And what gets me going, what sort of gets the juices going, if you will, right? And
Yep.
And I, Eric, I never thought I would be in sales. I was probably the last guy that you think that like you said, oh, I want to be a sales guy, or I want to be a sales leader, if you will, right? And so, to go through the journey and end up in sales is for me was fascinating, right? For me, I always I'm sort of a numbers geek, right? I love looking at trends and all of these things, but I was also a people person, right? And I love to try to connect with people, make that connection, figure out what the challenges are, and then hopefully connect people together to try to find solutions. And so for me, that's always sort of been the way that I approach sales is, if there's a problem, let's figure out a solution, right? And if we can't figure out a solution by what we have, then, there's the more sort of personality, the more voices gives a diversity of opinion, diversity of perspective, right? Which makes the conversation so much richer, right? Is the approach I try to take.
Absolutely. I love what you just said. And it is true. It started with the people and the culture. Absolutely. Now, from the moment you started to now, it shifted the CVB, the Convention Visitors Bureau, went to the DMO, Destination Marketing Organization. Is it just, and if Don Welsh is listening, he's going to kill me that asking that question. Is it just like a cosmetic change, or what are the rationale with that and the evolution of that part of the industry? Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah. So when I got into the industry, we were known as CVBs, right? Convention and Visitors Bureau. It's sort of the one that known by every other names, right? Convention and Visitors Bureau, Convention Visitors Authority, right? Today, we're often referred to as Destination Marketing Organization, right? And when I got into the industry, 25 years ago, or more than 20 years ago now, most DMOs were really focused on marketing the destination and bringing visitors into the destination, or bringing meetings and events into the destination, right? Today, that is shifted, right? And I don't mean by shifting like we're not doing that anymore. That's still a big part of the job. But I think today, so sales and marketing is still a big part of the job. Today, for most DMOs now, destination development is another big part of what CVBs or DMOs look at, right? And I'll give you an example of that. So if a city is developing a convention center or developing a plot of land, most DMOs now get involved in that conversation, because we can go in and recommend that place can be used for restaurants, or it can be used for parking, or it can be used for hotels, right? what we're really looking at is the experience of the visitor that comes into the destination. So our job is not really limited, or DMOs are not so limited anymore of just, let's bring a bunch of people in. It's really looking at the experience of the visitors coming into the destination, whether that visitor is here for a leisure travel or tourist, or if they're here for a business event or a business meeting. We want to make sure that how cities are developed is conducive to both the visitors, but also the residents of the destination, right? So that's a big part of what we do today. The other component that has expanded into the role of DMOs is really rallying community support, right? Because if you look at some destinations, there are some destinations that the locals are sort of done with the visitors, right? And you can think of a lot of destinations that are like that. They look at visitors as a nuisance versus a economic driver in their community, right? Mm-hmm. And so they look at visitors like, hey, those guys are going to drive prices of our hotels. They're going to drive the prices of restaurants. They're going to create more traffic in our streets, right? And so we work a lot with the local community to make sure they understand the economic impact of visitors, the economic impact of meetings and events, and what that means to them on a daily basis, right? Lowering taxes, improving infrastructure in the destination, right? So I think those are, just in that span, that's a big area that now DMOs are shifted into. It's not just about bringing visitors, bringing convention, bringing events. That's still a big part of the job. Mm-hmm. But it's now beyond that in terms of community development and also destination development. And that's, I think, a piece that will continue to grow as far as DMOs and DMO leaders in each destination.
Understood. Are you also looking at integrating different venues that maybe are too small to be on their own and being their voice?
Absolutely. That's a big part of what we do, right? So a lot of our hotels in different destinations, they're only so many major brands. The Hilton, the Marriott, right? Hyatt are the major brands that have a big voice and a big infrastructure in terms of marketing. But there are so many boutique hotels in every destination. You know what I mean? If you think about all of destination, California, Florida, Texas. And so DMO is, the role of the DMO is to be able to communicate that voice and communicate the uniqueness of every hotel, every venue in their destination. Because if you think about what a lot of travelers do is they want to know what locals are doing, Eric, right? So I don't want to just go to a destination and do what everybody else does or do what visitors or go to the visitors. I want to know what locals do in those destinations. So part of what we want to do is communicate that from your big box hotels to the big conventions to a unique boutique hotel or a unique venue that visitors can enjoy and see what the locals do in each of the communities that they're visiting, right? Whether that's for a leisure or for business.
Awesome. I try to portray myself as a local here in South Florida. When people ask me where you're from, I say South Florida. But then they look at me, they pause, and they go, "Yeah, but before that." So I cannot get rid of the accent. So
I think you might be able to pass until you open your mouth, right? And then it's like
Exactly. Now, when I was planning corporate events at my agency in Brussels, as you know, I would always work with DMO. Okay. And for me, it's because I always wanted to create amazing and unique experiences that people cannot duplicate. So I would work with the DMOs. I would work with the DMC as well, Destination Management Company. Yep. I would work with local partner that can open the not so known places or have exclusive experience or something different. What is the role that DMOs play today for in the support of third party, in the support of business owners in our industry?
So that's a great question. I think all DMOs, right, their job is to make sure that every organization event that's coming into their destination have a successful event, and whatever success means for each one of those organizations. And success for example, an association may be very different than a success for a corporate organization or an incentive piece that business that's coming in. So part of what we do is understand what that is for each of the organization. And then the other component for us then is recommend partners in our destination that can help that organization deliver the event that they're trying to deliver, the event and or experience that they're trying to create for their attendees, right? So I think that is the biggest role of a DMO in terms of supporting organizers, business leaders that are coming in and they're bringing either a group of people or their own staff or their communities into our destination. And sometimes depending on the size of the event and depending on the experience that organizer or that business leader is looking for, we may partner with the DMC, right? That helps them do some of the heavy lifting, some of the activation, some of the planning that they're doing. Or if that organization has a full planning, meeting, event team, they handle all of those. But our job is to connect the dots locally for all of those, for organizers that are coming in.
What have you seen now the last 2 years with the pandemic and a lot of people leaving the industry? Are they coming back? Do you have issues in the different restaurant, hotels, venues to find good people? And how do you attract people then in that case?
Yeah, so I think you hit on one of the big issues that DMOs are facing, but not just DMOs, also on the hotel side of the business, right? On the supply side of the business. I was also talking to some of our customers as they start to restaff up their teams on the event planning side of it. I think it's not something that's just localized or not something that's just focused on one sector of the industry. I think it's across the board in the industry because people have changed their expectation, right, over the last 2 years, right? And what I mean by that is when the pandemic hit, a lot of organizations reduced their staff because one, we were sheltered at home, events weren't happening, and then also people started working. And when for some of the people that were working, they were working out of their homes, right? So they were working remotely for their organization, and so just the mindset has changed, right? And so the big challenge that we're having today is just restaffing, bringing some people back, right? Some of the people that have been, we had to lay off, have moved on and gotten different careers, right? Whether that's in real estate or into tech, they just moved on with their lives, and that's obviously that's perfectly okay. But for us, it's how do we get the right people right back into our organization? And I think a lot of organizations like DMOs and hotels, and certainly on the DMO side of it, is the benefits that restaffing are looking for is different today than it was before the pandemic, right? So, for example, a lot of the positions that we're recruiting for today are looking for working from home, right? As one of the big benefits, right? You can understand, especially in California, some of the major cities, with the price of fuel going up every day, that's a big challenge, right? And so for us, we are really now looking at how do we make that happen for some of our team members, right? Today, I know I just got off the phone with some of the major California destinations, and they are having people work from home 2 days a week, 3 days a week, right? And that is a huge benefit that a lot of employees are looking for from destination. In addition to that, I think we're also looking for different skill set, right? I think especially when you look at marketing and social media, that's a big side of the business that we're looking to staff up on. And that's something, even before the pandemic, we were looking at, but it's even more today, right? In terms of marketing. So I think we're looking at different skill sets. We're working a lot with the universities. You and I talked about, San Diego State. They have a big tourism program there. Cal Poly up here in the Los Angeles area. Cal Poly Pomona has a big tourism program. So we're tapping into the university level. But we're also using platforms like LinkedIn to be able to promote and some of the positions that we're looking to fill. And in fact, for just our organization, I think we're looking to fill 10 positions. Right? We posted 10 positions, so it's a lot of us are looking for positions or are looking for talent, and it is something that we have to adjust what we're willing to compensate. And I'm not just talking from a monetary standpoint, although that's important, but some of the benefits that people are looking for in terms of just lifestyle and life balances.
Absolutely. I think to your point, obviously the cost of gas, it's something, but I think even before that or after, if, when the price will hopefully come back to what we've experienced in the past, we got used to work from home. We got used to have a different rhythm, to be more with the family, more with the kids, less in the traffic. I things like that. So we have the same in the company. It's like 2 days at home, 3 days in the office, or in the office, as they say.
It's hard to argue against that, right, Eric? I mean, for 2.5 years, our team has been working from home, right? And they've proven that they can do the work from home, right? And so, for us, it's trying to balance. I think from a business leader and a leader in our organization, is the challenge for us is how do we build a culture, right, in our organization? How do we bring the team together? How do we communicate up and down and sideways in an organization, right? And how do we develop core values in an organization when everybody's in their own little space, right? And so for us, we need to work harder from a management standpoint. We need to work harder to bring our teams together when they are together, right? To be able to communicate and ensure that the values of the organization, the culture of the organization is not lost when our team members are working remotely, 2/3 or 3/3 of the week, right? And so we're really looking at different ways to bring our team together, to build camaraderie, to develop our staff and get those communications up and down the organization.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. Culture is so essential in retaining the talent. How do you build that when people are working from home? And also, how do you leverage what you do? The last 2 times I came to Anaheim, I remember once with my wife, she's a realtor here in South Florida, and she's doing with sport management and luxury division. And no, she's not sponsoring my podcast, but I'm very proud of her. But we came there, it was an amazing experience. And also, actually, I came with my elder daughter some years ago to VidCon.
Yep.
And talking about culture and talking about new generation and talking about marketing, I just want to share with people listening an example that I lived when I was in Anaheim. So I'm at VidCon, and we queue with my daughter to meet her star, Lisa Kochi. Okay. Mm-hmm. And we there, and then comes her turn, they hugging, they talking, phenomenal. The next day, we go back to the airport. She flies back directly to South Florida, and I had to go to New York. Next to me in the plane, like 2 seats on the right, Diana Ross. Oh my God. And I was able to help her with the suitcase when we landed. Okay. Never washed my hands for 2 weeks afterwards, just to remember that. But, I asked her, no picture, no talking, no nothing. And the contrast between my daughter being able to actually, the Lisa Kochi jump on her back and took a picture, and me not being able to speak with somebody I admire, new generation. What is different today in marketing for Visit Anaheim or for any DMOs, as a matter of fact? What is different in marketing that you would have never thought of the last 10 years?
Yeah, so I would say a lot has changed, right? So in the past, we buy a lot of advertising, print, digital, all of those things, right? And while we still do a lot, I shouldn't say while we still do that, we don't do as much as we used to do, right? When you look at marketing of a destination, video is a big component of that, right? As you were at VidCon, right? The content now is all digital, right? And people consume so much content now through video versus just a print ad or a static ad, right? So we shifted into that. We talked a little bit about social, right? Social is such a big piece of that. And you talked about VidCon, influencers, right? Who would have thought? I mean, like before, we would have to hire somebody like Diana Ross to be a spokesperson of like Visit Anaheim or any other organization for that matter, right? Today, the influencers out there there are so many of them, and they have so many followers. And to somebody probably like in our generation, like I went to VidCon and I went to some of the shows like Star Wars here and that. There are so many influencers that I didn't even know who they were, right? I walked right by them and my kids are like, hey, Dad, that guy has like 5 million followers, right? So, and that's, I think it's a big change now that there are influence all around us that the young people are following and, take what their recommendation is to heart, right? And activate on those. And so for us, especially on the new generation that's coming up, who they trust, right? And who they they give time to, right, are people that may not be the traditional people that you and I think, oh my God, they're so cool, right? And so I, like my daughter, like your daughter, I took my daughter to VidCon, and and it was funny. We were walking through, and she said, "Dad, that guy is a celebrity." And I looked over, and this kid was maybe 12, asking his mom for a soda or something. And I said to my daughter, "You mean the kid that's asking his mom for a soda? That's a celebrity?" But that's who she identifies with. That's who has credibility with her. And so I think that's a big change for us, is working with influence to get our message out to different generation. At the same time, balancing, getting the message out in sort of your traditional medias, that we've done. And then lastly, I think the other component that we really are sort of looking at is being a thought leader in the industry, right? So we do a lot of sponsorship of things with industry association like MPI that you and I, met through, but also PCMA, ASAE, all IAE, all of the industry organizations out there that meeting professionals are connected to for networking, are connected to for education. And so we want to continue to be involved in those organizations, to contribute to content and be a thought leader in each one of those industry organizations. And that's another way for us to push our message versus, a hard ad or a hard sell, if you will, right? Because our industry is so connected and so about relationship. We really need to establish the relationship before we even move to the next phase of trying to offer anything that we do.
Absolutely. If you know anybody at Porsche or Cohiba Cigar or Dom Perignon, I'm ready to be an influencer, and we can strike a deal.
Hey, if I have that, you and I will be doing a different job.
So, as responsible under your responsibilities for Visit Anaheim's marketing, and you're talking about the influencers, how do you select them, and what is the KPIs that you're measuring to say, okay, this worked well, or we need to change this or that?
Yeah. So how do we select them is, when we look at different influencers, we want somebody that's authentic or has a connection to our destination. So if I was, working for Orlando, for example, right? I would want to work with an influencer that has some connection back to Orlando, because authenticity is critical, right? In this space, right? So we want somebody that has a connection back to our destination, wherever that destination is. And we want somebody that really understands the destination, right? And that's usually how we start to work, or is a subject matter that we are talking about. So for example, a subject matter could be around design or event design. So we would look at an influencer that has some sort of expertise or some sort of understanding on event design, and we would work with that person. So that's how we would look at different.
Here, for instance, where I live in Palm Beach, they would go with Tony Robbins or Rod Stewart, something like that.
if you're the organization that wants to do that, hey man, go for it, right? But then the other component, which is the bigger question that you ask, is how do we measure success?
Yes.
Right? And that is a little bit more obscure than sort of your transactional sales that we do, right? So we look at everything from obviously followers and how many of their followers are connected to the content that we're working with that influencer, right? How many referrals, bookings is sort of the ultimate, but that's far down the pipeline, right? Impressions are probably the big metric that we look at from a marketing standpoint. Impressions, referrals, all of those things. But that, for us, finding the right metric to gauge success on those things is something that's sort of evolving as technology gets, improves, and technology gets better and better, and tracking gets better and better, right? So it sort of takes us in a whole nother world of business intelligence, right? Which,
right.
You got companies like Tesla and Apple that are, leaders in that space in terms of really looking at business intelligence and connectivity and engagement of their audience and consumers.
Are you planning anything in the metaverse?
In fact, we have a company that's coming in on Tuesday next week. It's funny you asked that question. We have a company that's coming in Tuesday next week to talk to us about that segment, right? We don't have the expertise. So go back to our conversation earlier about what is the expertise that we are recruiting for, right? So that is not one of the areas that we have an area of expertise. So we have a vendor that's coming in and talking to us about that. And then I think from there, we need to decide where do we want to put our resources, right? And also where is the industry going, right? And do we want to have sort of a first movers right in that segment and own that space? You know what I mean? And so I think for us, we want to continue to put some of our resources in sort of traditional, but we're also sort of testing out where the future is in terms of marketing, in terms of getting the message out to the marketplace.
Awesome. Junior, as usual, I can talk and listen to you for hours. I'm not gonna, although it's very tempting to ask you to share this personal private joke if you wish so.
Yes. So you and I, for people that are listening in, Eric and I usually see each other, well, obviously a lot at board meetings at MPI and industry events at MPI, but this particular incident that Eric and I talk about a lot is, I think we were at IMEX Frankfurt. And, at IMEX Frankfurt, it's a major marketplace, mostly on the EMEA and Asia Pacific market there. There's a little bit of North America there, but I think it was somebody came up to me and they were talking to me and they said, are you from Somalia? Right. It took me, a split second to like, well, I'm sorry, are you talking to me? And, because I think I said something, I'm from Samoa, and she said, Somalia, right? And Eric turns around and just starts laughing, right? And I said to her, I said to her, no, because there's nothing about me that looks Somalia, right? But close.
Samoa,
right?
Somalia,
yeah,
whatever.
It's close enough, right?
Close enough.
But that was a first, and I don't think it's ever happened again.
Well, at least we have this private joke that everybody can use now. Yeah. Junior, my last question, and that's coming from another friend, Jason Gaynard, always come with this question, which I love. When we meet in 1 year time, face to face with a bottle of champagne, what will we be celebrating?
Well, one, I think we will continue to celebrate the fact that our industry is coming back, right? I mean, it's starting to be like, we're starting to look back and I think at some point we're going to be like, okay, that was a long time ago that we were all shut down, sheltered at home. And so the fact that we're sort of all back to, reconnecting, meeting new people, building relationships, right? Getting professional development is a great thing, and getting our industry back and connecting people. I think it's one thing that I would love it's always great to cheers to, whether that's champagne or a cocktail, right? So I think that's a big piece. I think I want to continue to celebrate that and continue to celebrate the fact that we do the thing that we love, right? Which is travel, learning new experiences or having new experiences and connecting people together.
Amen. Love it. Thank you so much, my friend. And I look forward to seeing you face to face very soon.
Absolutely. All right, buddy. Thanks for the time.
Junior, thank you so much for taking the time. Had a blast speaking with you as usual. Thanks for sharing those great ideas and insight for us regarding the difference between DMO and CVB, or rather the evolution of it, and what young generation are looking for now in terms of marketing. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to connect with me, please go on LinkedIn or join my Facebook group, www.eventbusinessformula.com/group. And if you enjoy this episode, please share it with your network. Thank you. Bye-bye.